Hi guys, Pax at Bonum. So now we will be moving to again a new topic. Right now we are going to design our pages using CSS. So we will talk about internal and external CSS. So for our learning competencies, we will apply CSS to format web pages. Sorry, there. We will apply CSS to format web pages according to industry standards. We will also show creativity and originality in assigned projects, and we will demonstrate originality and inventiveness in website making and understanding the real-world limits to adopting new ideas. So, for my motivation using Paint, I want you to screen grab that what do you call this bird, and I want you to put colors into the drawing. So just pause this for a moment and try to give the bird colors. Now, is your output almost the same as mine? I said almost the same because I know what I did is not perfect, but it's okay. The general idea of it is you will just put colors. Now, if your answer is yes, it's almost the same. It has blue, has green, yellow, and orange. My question now is, why did you color it that way? In my instruction, I only ask that you put colors on the bird. I never gave any other instruction, but probably you, as a person who is thinking, you saw the image, it has instructions. For all items with number 1, you color it blue. For all items with number 2, you color it green. For all that has number 3, you color it yellow. And for all number 4, you color it orange. CSS works the same way. We have tags, right? You think of the tags as the different parts of the bird. Yung body, it has a label 1. Now, in a web page, we have the tag. Now, we colorize the bird depending on the instructions provided. So, if we are going to relate it, these instructions, ito yung ating CSS. Now, the bird, the structure is our HTML. So whatever is written in the instruction, any instance of the tag, we will apply the instruction. Something like that. Now, what is CSS? CSS means cascading style sheets. It is used to format our web pages. The word cascading means that a style is applied to a parent element. And since a parent element may have a child element, any child element will also have the proper style, whatever is written in the instruction for the parent element. What do I mean by that? We have the body tag, right? And we put all of our tags for the content inside the body tag. If we will create an instruction, let's say we will create an instruction that will make all font colors set to blue for the body tag. It means anything written inside the body, it will get the style of that body. So if you place a paragraph inside the body, it will have the color blue. If we place a header 1 on the body, it will also get the color blue. Because in the instruction, it is said that the body will have a blue color. So everything written inside the body will have the same style. Anyway, more on that later. I will give proper examples for it. Now, there are three types of CSS. We have inline, internal, and external CSS. We will cover internal and external. I will actually ask you that you use either internal or external or both. But for inline, I am not very keen on using inline CSS because it's not really a standard in developing web pages. Save for a few exceptions, we normally use internal and external. See, inline, this is very, very, very optional and we have to use it minimally. Now, let's try to discuss muna what is an inline CSS. It is used to apply a unique style to a single HTML element. So the keyword here is only a single instance of an HTML element. And it uses the attribute style of any HTML element. So let me show you an example. We have here H1. Then it used the attribute style and the value is like this. CSS always uses a certain convention. So you have the color and then colon blue. So the convention is something like this. We call on the property first and then colon the value of that property. If you are going to look at the second one, we have the paragraph. We have the paragraph here. And then again, the attribute style. And then we have the value. The value is property, colon, and then the value of the property. So if you are going to look at the output, the first one, yung H1 niya, a blue heading, it gets a color which is blue, and then the paragraph, a color which is red. But again, we seldom use this in developing websites because in the long run, it might break the web page design. So we will focus more on internal and external CSS. In internal CSS, this actually affects all instances of a single element. And we have a general syntax for it. General syntax meaning for internal and external CSS, it uses this convention. Again, you will be able to see there is a property and a value, but it is inside a block. When I say block, it is the open and close, what do you call this? Braces. So whatever is inside the brace is part of one block. Okay, so it's written inside a block and the block has a name which is a selector. Looking at the right side, an actual example, The selector is actually the HTML element, and it has the property, the color property, and the value for the color property is blue in this example. This means that for all H1 tags, it will have a color, a text color that is blue. So again, the selector, it may be any HTML tag or any custom tag /class/ID, which we will cover later on, that class and ID. Any custom identifier can be a selector. So let's try doing the basics first. Let me show you different types of properties that we can use. Wait, let me just turn off my camera. There. So in the example, we've made use of color. But we can also set other properties like background color or even background image, margin, padding. Maybe you are not yet aware about the margin and the padding. Sige, let me discuss muna yan. Very quickly lang. A margin and padding. Let's say you have an HTML tag. Ito yung tag mo. Of course, on the web page, it has an equivalent look. When we talk about padding, it talks about the distance from the tag going outside. So that's your padding. But when we talk about margin, we are talking about the space from outside going to the tag. So ultimately, we are just talking about spaces, but what's different is where is it coming from? If it's margin, it's from one element going to the tag. For padding, it's from the tag going outside to different elements. Anyway, you will be asked to read on that during your independent study next week. So you will have better ideas on what margin and padding does. And then we have the height and width. We've talked about this one. We have the text align either left, right, center, and justified, if I'm not mistaken. A browser also has a justified format. And then we have font family. This is the actual font, like for example, Century Gothic. We have the font style. Remember the tags bold, italic, or for italic, and then underline. You may forget about them. You can forget about these three already. And we can use the CSS font style instead. So we can set the font style as italic, as bold, or as underline. And then we have the font size to change the size of the text. But let's try to use the different properties in our example. Okay, let's go for inline first. No, not inline. This is not inline. This is internal. Okay. So for internal CSS, we will be using the style tag. By the way, I forgot to mention, I will mention it right now. Previously, we use the image tag, right? Now, the image tag, this is an empty tag, okay? It doesn't have a partner tag. While your video, it has a partner video. Because I might not, I might forget about the tags again. So there is another empty tag which is img. Okay, so we will use the style tag for placing internal CSS. Where should we place the style tag? We will write it inside the head tag. So let's look at the example. We have the head tag here. Inside the head tag, we now have the style tag. Inside the style tag, I've placed a selector. Oh, you might get confused. Bakit meron comma and then P? Let me just explain. Remember, we can set a selector, and then inside the selector, we will write the property. Let's say color, and then blue. Again, this means any instance of H1 will have the color blue. Now, if we want to apply the color blue to other tags, we can add a selector above. We will just place a comma. Let's say for H1, H2, and H3, it will have the color blue. But for H4, H5, H6, I want it to be color red. So you have two cases. For H1, H2, H3, it will be color blue. For H4, H5, H6, it will be color red. And then we can add some more. Let's say we can place another property. Let's say text align left. So for H1, H2, H3, the justification is left. For H4, 5, 6, text align will be right. And then we can add some more selectors like paragraph. It can have a different property altogether. You can add two or more properties as long as it is inside a block. Now, going back here, for any instance of H1 and P, it will have a color blue, and the font family will be Arial. Now, let's look at the body. In the body, we have H1. This is a header. It's this one. Naging color blue, and the font family is Arial. For P, the paragraph, it's also color blue. The font family is also Arial. But on the third line, it doesn't have a tag, which means the style for H1 and P will not be applied. So this one, it doesn't have any styles. It will be in default style. Now, I will emulate. I will demonstrate, and you will emulate what I will do. We will create a CSS wherein the body will have a background color blue. I actually have, wait, I might use this later, so let me just copy this. So let's create a CSS using the instructions. Alright. So it will use a header. Let's just use H1. And a paragraph. So title and then sentences. So let's try to use that one. It says here that the body, the tag body, will be given the background color blue. So inside the head, we will now use the tag style. And then it has a partner slash style. Inside, we will create our selector. So again, the selector is the tag that will have a style. Since we are going to put properties for the body tag, our selector will be the body. It has a block. Inside the block, we will set the background color to blue. Now, the property for that is background dash color, colon, and then blue. And then we terminate it with a semicolon. And then the text color will be white. Now, let's think about this. Text color. Is it talking about the paragraph? Is it talking about the header? Is it talking about any other tags that has or that can place text? But if it's talking about everything or anything that is text, we must apply it to the body so that all of the text will have the color white. So let's just assume the second one. Let's assume all texts must be color white. So I will just put it inside the body. And I will write here color white. Okay, before we continue, let me just save and show you the initial output. So we colorized the body. So everything is in blue or background color that is blue. For the H1 and the P, since they are child elements of the parent element body, they got the color white and of course the background color blue as well. Now, for the header, the font style must be yellow. So for H1, not font style, but the font color, not this. The font color must be yellow. So we will apply color that is yellow. And then for the paragraph, the text alignment will be center and then italic. For the paragraph, text align is center and then it should be italic. So font style is italic. Let's try to change the font for H1 na lang. Dagdag na lang natin yon. Font family Century Gothic. Sorry, yun yung naalala ko bigla. Let's see. So there. The title, the paragraph which is centered, and italic. Each one pala has font family Century Gothic, but the paragraph still in default font family. Each one has a color yellow. So that's how we use internal CSS. Now, inserting an external CSS. Instead of the style tag, we will use the link tag. And again, it's also written inside the head tag. Now, the actual CSS selectors must be written on a different file. Look at this example. I have 3 pages here. I have the output here. I have the HTML document here. And the other file is for my CSS. Now, let's look at the head tag. This is our link tag. Later on, I will explain what is the code for it, or I will expound the code. And then we have H1 paragraph. So this is our H1, this is our paragraph. So our selectors are written on a different file. It has H1 and P. Everything will have color red, and the font family will be Consolas. So H1, this first line, color red, font family Consolas. Second one, paragraph, color red, font family Consolas. Now, again, in external CSS, you must create a separate CSS file. And the separate file will contain all of your selectors and properties. What is the syntax of the link tag? We will use the keyword link. This link is an empty tag. It doesn't have a partner tag. And then we have the attribute rel. It has a value of style sheet. This one is actually mandatory. You should not change this if you are going to use a link tag. And then we have href. Href, since it is an href, you may use an absolute or relative URL. And you must write here the file name of your CSS file. It ends in .css. So let me show you an actual example of it. So we have tags here. Let me just copy that. I will remove the style here. Okay? So inside the body, we have an H1, hello world. And then for the P tag, this is my first CSS. And then we have H2. This is amazing. Now, for the instruction, wait, let me just write first. We will create a different file. So different file. This is our HTML. The new file will be a CSS file. For the instruction, H1 must get color white. So we will write our selector H1. It will have the color white. And then text align center. Paragraph tag will have color yellow. Text alignment right. and then H2, text color red, alignment that is right justified, all tags must have a background color that is blue. Let me just use something like this. We will not set the background color into the body, but we will assign the background color for every tag so that you will see a different kind of output. Okay. Now, you will be able to see here P and H2, they both have text align that is center. Now, if you want to save a few resources like the number of lines, you can remove it. We will apply if I'm not mistaken, the distributive property. We can create a different selector for P and H2, and then inside P and H2, that's where we will place text align that is right. Now, for H1, P, and H2, we can remove all background color that is blue, and we will create a new selector for H1, H2, and P. That's where we will place background color blue. So I'm just showing a different approach on how to write CSS for better organization. Okay, let's save this. Let's click on File and Save As. You place it where your index is. In my case, it's just on my desktop. Now, I will write here, I will place a name, my new CSS dot CSS. It must have a file extension dot CSS. I will save that. Now, I will go back to my HTML file. I will now write the link tag on the head. I will connect to my CSS. So link rel style sheet followed by href, and this href will contain my URLs. So the file is my new css.css. So again, I'm just using a relative URL since they are both located inside the same project. So let's save and let me display the output. So if you will notice, every HTML element has a certain background color. We did not set the background color for the body, but rather for every element. So only particular elements has a background color. But if we will change it to, if we will change or add a selector for the body, and we will place there a different background color, or again, background color blue, everything will be in blue. If I change this to, let's say, black, so the body will be black, but the different elements will have their own background colors, which is blue. Now look at this. If I will remove link, it will revert back to a normal appearance because we don't have any CSS. That's the purpose of the link tag. And if you have a different file name, meaning this is not existing on the project folder, again, it won't have any design. So file names are very, very important. It has to be relevant so that it will be easier to remember. Now, internal versus external CSS, which is better between the two? I want you to ask yourselves that question first. But if you are going to ask me which is better among the two, it depends on the situation. If you are going to create one page only, it's better to use internal CSS. One page, you write your CSS on the head section, and it will just be applied on the body, right? But what if you are going to create a website with at least 100 pages? So many pages. Would you be willing to write internal CSS on each page? What if you are going to design so many selectors? It will be hard for you. So in cases wherein there are plenty of pages, it's better to use an external CSS. Because if you have an external CSS, you will just write the link on every page. You just hook it up on one CSS file. All of them will just link to your CSS and they will be able to apply the instructions of your CSS file. Something like that. All right, I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say here. Now, what if, guys, a page uses all three types of CSS that targets the same tag, which is, for example, a paragraph tag, which will take precedence? What will be used? Let's look at this example. I have here an internal CSS. So in my internal CSS, the paragraph tag will be color blue. On my inline CSS, the paragraph tag will be color yellow. But on my external CSS, this one, the color will be green. Again, going back, all of them are targeting the same paragraph tag. Ano ngayon na magiging kulay ng sentence natin? Nung P tag natin inside the body. Will it be color blue, color yellow, or color green? So think about it for a moment. And the actual answer to that, wala pala akong output. Teka lang, double check natin kung may output ako nito. Nawawala na yung output ko. But anyway, sabihin ko na lang, the output of it is, it will be color yellow. Etong color yellow yung magte-take precedence. So, why? What happened? When the three CSS types are present all together, an order of precedence has to take place if they are targeting the same tag. Kasi magkakaroon ng overlap eh. So when overlaps happen, ang general rule is the one closest to the tag will be employed. And the closest to any tag will always be the inline CSS. while the external will be the farthest because it is located on a different file. Yun yung simple realization ko about it. So, the priority will always be inline CSS. If no inline CSS is present, internal will take precedence over external CSS. If wala ang internal, inline CSS will take over the external CSS. Okay? Now, what if all three are used but they are not using the same property? Let's say for inline CSS, ang nag-change dito is font color. For internal CSS, ang nag-change dito is the text alignment. And then for external CSS, ang change niya dito is the font style. What will happen? All of them will be applied because they are not targeting the same tag. So just siguro think about it something like painting. Ang unang i-apply as a paint will be the external. After ma-apply ang external, that's the time magpe-paint ulit and it will apply the internal one. After ma-apply ang internal, that's the time it will apply inline. So while applying, kung merong overlap, i-overwrite lang kung saan man yung may overlap. Pero pag walang overlap, lahat sila magagamit naman. Okay? So, now I have an activity. I want you to try and do external CSS. So you have 3 different tags there, H1, paragraph, and H2. And you have instructions. H1 will get color blue, text align center. P tag will get text color red, font family Arial. H2 will get text color blue, center alignment, font family Arial. And the body's background color will be yellow. So try doing that in external CSS. Okay? So that's it. If you have questions, don't hesitate to message me in Schoology. And if ever, you may visit w3schools.com for additional practices ng internal, external CSS. Anyway, pagdating natin ng independent study, meron pa akong mga ipapabasa sa inyo from W3 Schools. Okay, so thank you.